Welcome to the RBV podcast. Today, we have the owner of Squared Construction with us. He's going to share with us more about how he started and grew his business, and I would love to introduce him to the audience. So, Jay Rogers, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you here today?
My name's Shaquan. I go by Jay. I'm based out of Murrells Inlet. I own a business, Squared Construction. We're in the excavation business. Local guy, born and raised, just love working outside.
What made you pick this industry? Did you grow up doing this kind of work, or was it something that you found a passion for later on?
No, I'll be honest with you. So I grew up working in a restaurant. My first job, I was 16. I worked in a restaurant, and then I stayed there until right when I was 21 and realized that the restaurant life wasn't for me. So then that's when I decided to switch it up. I went and got a job working construction. I did a little bit of remodeling. They got slow, and then I got a job with a guy who taught me how to run machines, and that's why I realized that's what my calling was.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
You say that's what your calling was. Was that
Yeah.
something you felt like was beyond just you, something that was higher that was calling you to that?
Yeah, it comes natural.
Okay.
Running machines became natural.
Yeah.
I'm today, as an owner, I'm a glorified machine operator is what I tell my guys all the time.
How do you think, growing a team, because I know it's hard to do that work by yourself. There's some jobs it's just impossible to do by yourself. What did that process look like for you starting and then bringing other people into the business and growing that way?
That's a difficult task. That's an art, to be honest with you, because when you get started in a business, usually you start with a business and it's solely relying on you. And being able to grow a business beyond yourself and then, try to put things in play for other guys to do, it's a little bit tricky. That's part of the art that can make the difference between you being successful and you not, or actually being able to grow it. It took a little while. It took a few years to kind of figure that out because I'm a Mr. Think I Can Do It All type of guy.
Oh, we all are sometimes.
I had to kind of figure that one out and learn to trust other people, and you put systems in play and you teach people different things, to set them up for success.
Mm-hmm. And so you use that word systems, right? And I think especially in our world when it comes to like marketing and automations and helping business owners like you, people can get so obsessed with the systems that it actually prevents them from growing. And that's why we see so many people online that are telling us to like, buy this course, do this, I'll teach you how to do this. And that's their whole business model. They're not actually in the trenches growing a business. Yeah. And that's why we want to have this platform is we want to bring people like you on who are real business owners in the trenches, actually doing the work to say, all the stuff you're hearing online, that's just surface level. There's stuff way beneath this. Yeah. So what would you say are some of those myths that you hear a lot online about running a business or starting a business, and you hear it and you're like, oh man, if people only knew?
Man, I can't really think of any right off top, but I can tell you all of that stuff is really glorified. And if you truly, truly want to run a business, there's only really one way to do it in my head, and that's kind of to be out there and actually attempting. You're going to learn something new every day. You're going to meet people smarter than you. There's going to be people tell you can't do it, but you just have to have the drive and will to do it,
I love that answer because there was a quote I heard a long time ago that was, you don't need to learn what all the counterfeits look like. You just need to be so familiar with what a true dollar bill looks like that you can immediately recognize a counterfeit. A fake when you see it.
That's exactly right.
And it tells me that you're not focusing on, oh, this is a myth and that's a myth and everything. You're just doing it. Yeah, you're doing it. You're learning in real time what works, what doesn't. And I think that having that natural proclivity to action rather than like me, that was one of my biggest flaws. Was I would want to study, prepare. And then the guy that just went and did it 2 months ago was way further than I was.
Oh, yeah.
So I really value and appreciate and respect people like you that can just get out there and do it, get the job done.
You got to put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
And, dude, it's a lot when you start. You got to have insurances. You got to have this. You got to have that. Then you got to think how you're going to get jobs. And then, but I'm sure we'll cover all of that. But, yeah.
And, especially like speaking to young people, right, that might get caught up in the same things that I did of seeing all these different business models, right? Because I do believe there are more opportunities and it's easier to make money than it ever has been in probably human history today.
Yeah.
But it still takes the work, right?
Yeah.
So those young people who get caught up in that same kind of process, what would you say to them to encourage them to take action?
To be honest with you, if I had to tell somebody today, a younger person looking to be an entrepreneur, the saying is you got to jump off the porch. you jump off the porch and you go ahead and get started. I did, when I started doing things, if you look at the big picture, there's 1,000,001 things you're going to need. I look at what I need for the next 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
What do I need for the next 3 days? What do I need for the next month? As the business grows now, it's, I can look 3 months ahead. Hey, I'm building towards this. But in the beginning, let's just say something as simple as you don't have a name, you don't have a logo, you got an idea, and you want to do it. Go ahead and say over 3 days, hey, I'm going to come up with a name.
Mm.
And if that's going to be it, you're going to brand that. 3 days later, say, hey, I'm going to find somebody to do a logo.
Mm.
And you just set small goals and, go out to achieve those small things. And then eventually, you'll look back in no time and you'll accomplished way more than if you sat at the computer watching so-and-so online.
Yeah,
Tell
or
me what-
overthinking the logo for 3 months instead of 3 days.
Yeah, put a time, you can always change it.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm in the rebranding myself.
Mm.
For my business, we're adding the and landscaping to the name.
Okay.
So we're doing some things as far as, some landscape
Mm.
installs. We've been doing them. I didn't know how far we would go into it, along with the construction and things like that. So now I'm actually adding it to the name, to actually, promote it and advertising and things like that.
Can you tell us more about that? Because I know you generally shared with us what Squared Construction does, but going through this rebrand, it sounds like you're adding even more capabilities and services to what you do. So can you tell the audience, in case there's anybody that's interested, they're like, I love this guy's message, I love what he's doing, I want to work with him. Can you tell them what some of the specifics of the things that you do are and why they should work with you as opposed to someone else?
Well, first of all, I'm going to cover the back half of that question.
Sure.
Quality is most important. Communication is everything. We're going to communicate. We're going to figure out what you want. We're going to try to give you exactly what you want. And we're going to do it at a quality, with quality. And that is number one, me. It's got to be quality. The other part of the question?
So when it comes to quality in all of your services, what are some of those services? Because I know you guys can probably do so many different things.
Yeah. So we narrowed it down. The basis of it, we started out, it was an excavation company. So it would be excavation and grading. And I actually started back when I thought I could do everything myself and lot clearing and grading.
Okay.
So it was, consisted of a 50,000-pound tractor trailer, 1 or 2 guys helping, and we clear lots. And then as that went on, we got into drainage. With lot clearing, you're the first person on the job. Mm-hmm. So once we got past beyond that, it went from drainage to, some concrete work and things like that. With the rebrand, I've took, the things I like the most and the things that are profitable because that, that comes high on the list. You have to make money to run a business. I've rebranded and we've done, so it's the services would be like outdoor services is what I like to call it. I'll do anything that's not inside of your house. I don't like going to people's house.
Okay.
So we do like patios, outdoor kitchens, outdoor living spaces, concrete driveways, paver driveways, and things of that nature. And then the thing that we're adding that we've been doing now for probably 2 years, but we're really starting to narrow down and try to, would be different to anybody that knows my business that would be different is the landscaping. So we do landscape installs, irrigation, and lighting to go along with it. So now we can turnkey an outdoor living space from, you could have absolutely nothing on the back of your house. We could come in and put in a paver patio, outdoor kitchen, whether it's got a gas fire pit or a fire pit. And then we could landscape it and put you some palm trees or, some plants and shrubs and sod, under one umbrella.
We might need to talk more after the podcast.
That's it.
Because I'm like, that outdoor kitchen catches me. And I'd probably be the same way. I grew up not doing this kind of work. I grew up in the trades. I grew up doing mainly like electrical work, a little bit of landscaping, but mainly electrical work and construction. And so I felt the same way going into people's houses. Yeah. I think that like staying outside, you can just show up and do the job and just stay outside. I hated going inside people's houses because that's I have a level of respect for people that can do that because it feels like so much pressure, feels kind of awkward, but being able to just show up and do the work feels.
I spent a little bit of time in people's houses, in some nice houses, doing remodeling. But once again, I prefer to stay outside.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm right there with you. This is one of my favorite questions to ask on the podcast, which is when you were getting started, what do you feel like was that big breakthrough moment for you where you were like, I can make this happen. I can be a successful business owner. I can own my life, own my business. This is something that can be a reality for me.
And so I kind of had a false sense of success. When you get a break early and you're if you took the approach I took, you just came off the porch, you started, and all of a sudden, I put out, I'll say my break. Am I allowed to say like people's names?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I put out a like yard sign that said lot clearing and grading back when that's what I was doing day in and day out. And I come across a contractor, Eric Coffey in Thompson House. And
They're going to be on the podcast sometime
is he
soon.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my guy.
Okay.
I love that guy. I'm friends with him.
Amazing. That's amazing.
He's gave me a shot at a big job, a job I had no business doing. I got it done. It was efficient. We got it done. Kind of proved ourselves. And that was like a break because at that time he was building, 5 or 6 houses, custom homes, very nice houses in very nice neighborhoods and things like that. So he kind of gave me, a foot ahead to get out there. But like I said, that would be the breakthrough. I don't want to take away from that. I had another company hire me out to do what at the time was like the biggest thing to me. We tore down the signs at the Grand Dunes, which is local here at Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
That was like the moment. I'm like, man,
Yeah.
I've got this guy and I'm doing this. I just tore down the Grand Dune sign, and I tore down all of the columns on all the Grand Dunes Boulevard and all of the other signs. And it was like, man, this is it. This is what I want to do. You make the money, you get freedom. That was kind of the driving force in the beginning.
Yeah. Why do you think he gave you that opportunity? What do you think it was that made you stand out to him?
So I think maybe he called me based off of a sign. You'll talk to him. I think he's pretty swift.
We'll have to have you both on at the same time.
Yeah, he's pretty swift. I just think he's a good guy. And he saw a sign and he called me on the phone and I talked to him and I went out and met him out there and looked at it. I just think he saw a hustler.
Okay. Great.
Somebody that was out there willing to do it.
I think that's so important is to work from where you're at, because it's something I tell young people, and this is something I really struggled with. And it sounds like you didn't, which is another thing I respect and admire, is that I tried for a long time as a young person, especially, to put up this image of success that I had not yet achieved, because I thought I needed to show that to people in order for them to give me a chance.
Yeah.
And then what I noticed, though, was the people that had the humility to just be honest about where they were at and just have that hustler mentality, go out there and show proof through their work, those were the people that got all of the opportunities. Those were the people, because people see through that so easily when someone's just trying to appear bigger than they are.
Yeah, so we live in a different world today. Social media and what you guys do, it rules the world. Like this podcast here, somebody can get on and say, oh, Jay, he's made it. I did see on a video on Facebook, and there's a guy, he gave a quote. He was talking about a story. I'll give you the short version of it. Somebody he knew was starting to get equipment. There was an excavation post. My algorithm's stuck on that. And it was an excavation post, and the guy was getting equipment and this and that and all this other stuff. And when he went and talked to the guy, he went to ask him for some advice. He told him it's closer than you think.
Mm.
And, when he first said it, I was like, what is he talking about? Then he went on to explain, with all of this, as you're getting along, as you grow the business, and if you're doing it and if you're having any type of success, even if you're doing it genuinely versus just getting on social media and saying, oh, hey, I'm doing this, or just trying to look one way or another versus, you're actually putting in the work and you're starting to gather some equipment, or you're starting to get, whether it be trucks or whether you're in a service or whatever the case is, when you start getting this stuff, the books may be tight. There's a lot that comes in, there's a lot that goes out. It takes a lot to run a business, but you can have stuff. It does give you the freedom, if you're growing it, but it may be closer than you think.
Yeah, I love that. And I think when you try to appear like you've already made it, you're actually pushing yourself farther back.
Yeah, you're pushing yourself
from
back.
That thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you're pushing yourself back. There's people out there that want to give you an opportunity. They like, young people. I'll give anybody an opportunity if it seems reasonable. If I think you know what you're doing and I have confidence in that you're going to try, I'll even help you, to try to help you be successful. But, I run into people sometimes that a business pops in the head every time I see him. He tell me how great he's doing or this or that, and it's like, okay, cool. That's great, but I'd rather deal with hustlers and people that want to go out and get it, and let's make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking that action like we talked about. You comfortable with breaking down the business for us and talking numbers?
To an extent, yeah.
Okay,
you can go ahead.
Okay. For a lot of young people, when they're hearing you talk about like buying equipment and hiring people and doing these different things, and they're like just getting started, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to them, that's like level 10 sometimes. And they're still at level 1. They're still thinking about what is it that I want to do? First of all, do you think for them it's smarter for them to go work a job in the industry that they want to start a business in? So if they want to start a business similar to what you do, they should work with someone like you first, learn the trade, and then go start it? Or do you think they should just jump right in with starting the business?
Certainly. I think you should definitely go get some experience.
Okay.
When I said jump off the porch, I didn't mean
Right, right.
I think you should
Messing
definitely
up,
have
messing up people's property.
yeah, I think you should definitely have some experience. I'll even say his name. It's funny because there's a lot of guys I know in the excavation. I call it, when I explain it to people, I came up from under a guy named Kerry Weaver, and he's got the Kerry Weaver tree. There's a whole bunch of businesses out there in excavation, from Murrells Inlet to Pawleys Island. And I think we all at one point worked for him. You got to go get some experience. You got to go learn. You go put some hours in. Just be sure you retain and pay attention, because there'll be things that you see that you may want to adapt into your business, and there'll be things that you may not want to deal with, or that you may not want to actually put into your business, but you just take those things and stick it in your pocket and, pay attention. So there's no perfect way to run a business. There's no perfect scenario. There's good, there's bad, there's ugly, and you're not always going to be what you would consider successful. Every day is not successful, but overall, if you're doing it the right way and you're giving people a quality product and, you're being honest and you're forward, you can be successful and overall in the big picture.
Yeah, yeah. And we can get to the numbers in a minute, because I think there's a piece, if we jump there, we would skip over, right?
Okay.
And so we're talking about, them learning and experiencing the trade, building that skill set, and then they start, right? Let's say a few years go by, they've done that, even a few months. Some people are fast learners and they're like, I feel like I know this trade, I want to start. And so they jump in and they're competing with people they were working with or working for,
Yeah.
right? And people that have been in business for a lot longer, they have a better reputation, they have a bigger marketing budget, they have all of the odds are against them. And you probably experienced this yourself in a way when you first started.
Yeah.
How do you go about getting your first customers and growing from that point when it seems like everyone else is already doing something similar? They're doing it bigger, they're doing it better, they've got more of a marketing budget, they've got a sales team, and you're the little guy. How do you go out and start to get clients that way?
Okay. Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm glad we came back to that. What I would say probably about getting business, don't do what I did. I did it wrong. I went out and printed business cards and walked around in the wrong places. In the right environment, this may have worked, but every place that I hung out, I was trying to hand out business cards, and I remember getting like discouraged one time. I saw some business cards on the ground, like, dang, I handed out these business cards at a bar. That wasn't a great idea. Nobody's here to hear you try to sell them business. You can hand out business cards, but you may want to go to somebody in your industry or somebody you're looking to provide that service for and give it to somebody at the front desk and say, hey, this is what we're doing. I don't think there's competition. I think there's plenty of work, especially here locally where we're at, that we don't have to look at it as competition. You may, in the beginning, reach out to some of those guys and say, hey, man, this is what I'm doing. If you get a job that you don't want, I'm willing to do it, because there's jobs that come across my table all the time that is something that we may not be fit to do, or something that just, not that we're above it, may just be too busy at the time, or might just hand it off to somebody and say, hey, man, there's a decent job. They call this what they're looking for. I give the contact. I don't like to manage it. Hey, this is the person, this is what they're looking for. So you could reach out, like if you called me and say, hey, man, you have something to do, or this is what I'm doing. That's another route. I've found myself at times, I sat on the phone one January when I was terribly slow and just called. I got on the phone and I called property managers. I called contractors. I called, hey, this is what we're doing, this service we offer, blah, blah, blah. If they had an email on their website, I emailed them, say, hey, this is so-and-so and this is what we're offering. And some of that turns into work. Some of it doesn't, but you don't know if you don't try.
If you could roughly crunch those numbers, how many jobs do you think you got versus how many calls or emails you did? Was it like 1 out of every 100 or 200? What do you think that ratio was roughly?
Man, let's say I made 100 calls and got 10 jobs.
Okay.
Right.
Wow. That's
so
great.
that would be success. I do some other things in marketing where I use the postal service and I sent out flyers in the beginning It was affordable. That's
Mhm.
another option. If you got a little bit of money, you can list your services out, put your logo on it, and you can send it out. And I think I did 5,000. All right, and I was actually established at this point, but I did 5,000. I was like, man, that's a lot. But if you got 1% at the type of jobs I was marketing on that thing, it would have paid for it. The first job would have paid for every dollar I spent. The first job did pay for every dollar I spent,
Probably and then some.
and then some. And then, once you're in a neighborhood working, the more people see it, the more they believe it. The busier you are, the more people are going to come up to you while you're out working, looking to have something done. So that just that snowballed from one place to another. I was doing a driveway. What I sent out the flyer it was driveways and things of that nature. And I think roughly I spent like $2,300 or something like that
Mm.
in sending them out. But that was 5,000, and I had to have them printed and all of this. There's other ways to do it. You could have gone on Vista Print, or you can get it priced up right.
Right.
Probably cheaper than what I did.
We've seen a lot of clients have success with every door direct mail (EDDM)
That's it.
campaigns.
Yeah, that's through the postal service. That's exactly
Exactly.
that's exactly what I'm speaking about.
Yeah, phenomenal. And it's so much cheaper than what people try to do when they just get a list of addresses and just try to send all these individual addresses on the list. It's like a fifth of the price to
Yeah.
do
If you look it
EDDM.
up, I mean, you can pick a route, so send it to every house on the route. If you just do the math, it'll tell you how many addresses on it,
Right.
or something like that. I think it was like 11 cents per address, or 8 cents or something like that, with the flyer or something. By the time you add your costs to your flyer, because I got really down the wormhole and started trying to figure out
Right.
what I was spending on it per.
Yeah. And you can get technical with that stuff too. Like you can look at what homes have sold recently because you know that somebody's most likely going to be moving into that house soon.
Yep.
You can target mover lists from moving companies, which is a great referral partnership for any kind of landscaping company or anything we found is if you build those relationships with people like moving companies,
Yeah.
they can tell you which people have been hiring them for a moving service to move into the area. Boom, that's a hot lead.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a good lead. I've never
Yeah.
thought of that.
for especially, and it's not even just for we want to span from lawyers to landscapers here
Yeah.
with what we do, and that works. That's something that works for every local service business because when you move to a new area, chances are you're going to need a new dentist. You're
Yep.
going to need a new lawyer, a new landscaper, a new pressure washer, window cleaner, whatever the case might be. So targeting movers we've seen is a really, really good demographic. Not to get too technical, but
Yeah.
so okay, and I'm really trying to paint a clear picture of this journey for especially for the younger people that are listening. So we talked about them starting to work and gain experience in a trade.
Yeah.
How long do you think they should do that roughly before jumping in and starting a business?
Don't want to put a number on that because then
Okay.
somebody might take it for concrete.
Uh-huh.
And when I said that may stop them, but I can just tell you, me personally, I ran machines. I'm embarrassed to say this now. Some people might be like, "Golly, why did we give them a job?" Oh, I think I ran machines for like a year and a half.
Okay.
Before I jumped out and started my own thing.
Okay.
So it didn't take me long to figure it out. But I had the idea that at that point I wanted to go in business for myself. I didn't know exactly what I was going to be doing. When I went to remodeling, when I quit working in a restaurant, I already knew that I was going remodeling, and I thought I was going to be remodeling for my business is what I thought my business would be.
Mm.
And I had a name. I had already come up with a name, The Square. And I had, the logo originally was just the two squares, which are two, carpenter squares, speed squares, and squared construction. And then as I transitioned and realized, hey, I like machines, I kept the name because it was a cool name, and it's got a slogan, "We'll get you squared away." I thought it all still would work, and then now I'm just kind of branding it as we go along.
Yeah. I love that though. Starting with something, and then like you said, I think people forget you can always change it.
Yeah.
Everybody always thinks like the end result of 10 years from now and like being this big business and everything. It's
3
like,
days at a time.
yeah. I love that. I love that. So, okay, let's say somebody realistically, they could learn a skill in roughly a year.
Yeah, you can learn a skill in a year.
And then, so let's say they've learned that skill set and they're 100 phone calls away from maybe getting that first job.
Yep.
You just got to take it, and you can make 100 phone calls. I think 100 is a really good number. Yeah. And from what I've always heard, you probably know who Alex Hormozy is, but the 4 hours, right? Those 100 outreaches can take about 4 hours. When I was doing outreach, I would always try to tell myself, just 4 hours, get through those 4 hours, hit that 100 mark, and then, you can move on to the rest of the work and do whatever's. And when you take action, what I found, I used to overanalyze, right? So I was like, why do I feel anxiety about making sales calls? Let me look up this psychology video about sales psychology, and oh, he mentioned this book, let me go read that book, and okay,
Yeah.
these are the principles I need to. And then the guy that's less experienced, that I feel like isn't as good as me at sales, he just started calling.
Yeah. He just called.
And I've got this whole thesis on, like, this is why I had anxiety for sales, and this is how you overcome it. He's like, cool, I made 80 grand. You
Yeah.
know what I
No,
mean?
that's right.
So just do it. And then what I've found is so funny about that is when you just do it and you see the result, you don't need to understand why you're afraid, because the fear goes away.
Yeah.
You want to do more. You're like, man, 100 outreaches a day made me this amount. What if I could do 200?
Yeah.
What if I could do? And the fear just goes away when you see the result. But you only get there if you just do it.
I'll tell you, I think we're going to go into numbers. I spent $200 on yard signs that said lot clearing and grading and gross. And I was young. I was 23, 24. I think we gross off of those yard signs. It was something like 300,000 that I could link directly back to $200 worth of yard signs. Now, granted, like I said, I did meet, Eric off with Thompson House. We're clearing big lots. I won't say how much those were, but we were clearing, big lots and big jobs. So that did make up for it. But still, that was nothing I've ever done has ever touched that again. And I put out yard signs again.
But, and I think, some people would call that luck, right? But I don't think it's luck. I think it's the fact that you were looking at all the bases you could cover.
Yeah.
And you tried to cover all those bases, and one of them hit.
Yeah.
And when you repetitively do that, you start to recognize patterns, and you can lean into one thing more than another. That being said, though, have you noticed that there's a particular method of getting business that's worked the best for you over the years?
Everybody's going to say word of mouth. I think, word of mouth is great, but there's no, that's just you doing a quality job and somebody telling you did a quality job. I got older friends and things like that kind of give me advice, and I just want to touch on the quality job and word of mouth. But I got a buddy. He's in trailer sales. You need to get him up here, George.
Okay.
George at the Beach RV.
George at the Beach RV.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's trailer sales. He says, one happy customer, I'll tell 5 people.
Mm.
One bad customer, I'll tell 100.
That's good.
He says, so, try to make people happy.
So quality work and truly being good at what you do, you think is actually ultimately the best marketing strategy?
Yes, that's the best. That's going to be, if I had to say marketing strategy, that's tough because I am just now, I've been in business 8 years. I am just now personally getting into the social media aspect of it, and kind of what you guys do. I looked on your site and kind of saw I'm interested in it, where we're flying a drone and things like that. And I need to hire somebody to do it because I can't fly a drone. But, we're flying the drones over the jobs, and I kind of, want to take a step and have somebody walk through some of the jobs and do some things on social media and stuff like that. I think that is the new wave, because there's so many people on those platforms, and if it's pushed the right way, it can generate work. So I do believe in the social media, word of mouth. You have to touch all bases, and you'll see what works best for you. I think this question started with you asking me what works best for me.
Yes.
Like I said, I'm pretty private, so I didn't do a lot of social media in the beginning. I've always had a Facebook, and I would post on there, some things like that. But, once you get too many big dogs, I don't know if you know, that is some people that, like, as you're posting things on social media, it kind of gives people that image. I'm the same person. Same person I was 8 years ago when I started it. And I work just as hard today as I did then, if need be. As I was posting on social media, what kind of turned me away, which was a mistake, was, people making comments, or people, saying, oh, look at you now kind of vibe.
Yeah.
But you have to ignore all that stuff. You got to stay focused. Use the marketing for what it is. Put yourself out there is a big one. That's the jumping off the porch. That's everything, and being sure you're going to make mistakes along the way. You have to you have to be accountable and be able to say, hey, this was a mistake, be able to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That keeps it, as when you're putting yourself out there, you're real, you're human. We're all human. So as you're putting yourself out there, people will be receptive of that.
And I love that you mentioned you've been in business for 8 years and you're just now starting to tackle that,
Yeah.
because there are so many people, even that come to us here at RBV, so many people that I've seen. I've been in this industry for almost 10 years now,
Yeah.
right? And I worked with a lot of realtors, and I used to love doing this exercise with them when we were on a Zoom call. And they were maybe a few years into it. They would bring up social media. Well, I think I need to market. I need to do social media. And they would put so much emphasis on social media. And I would ask, well, have you gotten any clients from social media? Well, no, that's why I need social media, so I can get clients. Okay. Do you know anybody personally in real estate at your office, anyone who's gotten clients from social media? Well, yeah, I mean, there's a handful. Okay, but it's not like consistently, like they're getting a ton of clients from social media. Well, no, I mean, it's everything else that they're doing. Okay, so why do you think you need social media? Well, everybody knows that. Everybody, just look it up. You can see the statistics on, how effective social media is. Okay, let's do that. Let's Google it, right? And we would Google it. And sure enough, all these search results pop up that social media is the most important thing, and 80% this and that, and you need to be on this, and all these different reasons. And they're like, see, there it is. Well, who's posting these things? Oh, this is a software company that sells a marketing software to real estate agents. Oh, this is a marketing agency that sells a service to real estate agents.
There you go.
Oh, this is a real estate coach that's selling a course to. So they're incentivized to tell you need this thing.
Yeah.
And we can get so sucked into this digital matrix, and we allow other people to tell us what we need to be successful.
Yeah.
And we end up putting all of this time and energy and effort into things like social media too early, when ultimately what it takes is, like you said, jumping off the porch, going and doing the work, doing the hard things you don't want to do. No amount of posting on social media when you're starting is going to compensate for putting those yard signs out, knocking on those doors, making those phone calls, getting yourself out there and doing the uncomfortable work. And the reason, even though we offer those services, we're honest with our audience about that, is because we want to help create more businesses that can work with us. And if there's a bunch of people out there just worrying about the vanity of it all and looking cool on social media, but they're not actually doing any business, they can't work with us because they can't afford a service to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. You got to be in the field. You got to be working.
Yeah.
Don't get caught up on all of the stuff that you need that you really don't need.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that out there. And there's a lot of, I've watched some of those videos and intros to some of the courses and things of such, and they're like, you need to come here and we're going to tell you how to do this. I didn't have it. I mean, I'm getting some of it, but like you said, it's not necessary to go out and actually do the work. Work speaks for itself, first and foremost. That's the first things first.
And I'm by no means talking down on like mentors and coaches and people that do those things. I think they can be beneficial. I just think we also live in a world where there's so much of it that it's easy for us to get distracted.
Overly saturated.
Absolutely.
What we would call that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It is overly saturated.
Yeah.
I would agree with you.
100%.
I mean, there's some people on there that give you real life. I mean, we're here right now, give you real life experience and,
Yeah.
But it's what I was getting at. It's not all glorious.
Yeah.
You have to have some type of grit about it and understand that. I typically ask people, because people ask me all the time about starting a business. I don't want to talk about what are you going to do when it's good. We all can do when it's good. What are you going to do when it's bad?
Yeah.
What are you going to do to generate work? What are you going to do?
And this is a perfect segue to my second favorite question on the podcast, which is, we talked about that like big break moment. What was a moment where you feel like you made a mistake that might have been so big that you really messed something up? Like a big mistake that taught you a huge lesson in business. I know you talked about handing the cards out at bars.
Oh yeah,
but something other than that.
No, that wasn't a mistake. That was just being overly ambitious.
That's just learning the ropes, having the experience. Yeah, absolutely.
I guess there was a period of time where I was forced to grow, and I didn't realize I needed to grow because I had so much work. I'd gotten so busy from just word of mouth. Probably one. This is the biggest mistake would be underpricing a job.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up in a job where things went wrong and, there wasn't enough money there to fix it or whatever the case was. And it cost a ton of money to get right. I'm big on staying with it and, doing the right thing about it. If you run out of money, you're stuck. So first and foremost, don't make the mistake. Value your service. Value, whatever you're offering, put your value on it. And no matter if it seems like you could be slow and that's the only thing that's called, look somewhere else if they're not looking to pay for what you're offering, because it's never going to, you might get lucky and get out of there with a little bit, but if you be better off taking something with some value in it and something where you could be profitable. I've made that mistake more than once. You said, what was the big mistake? That would be, the big mistake, thinking I can get and do someplace, do a job when I had this much overhead and I was trying to cut it tight and, run it right here and end up losing money or something like that.
Do you think, because we experience a lot of that too, I think everybody in business, it's almost like a certain level of imposter syndrome that you have where you don't recognize the true level of value that you can achieve from your work or that people are willing to pay. Do you think that's probably what it was that created that, is just feeling like, if my numbers aren't good enough, maybe they're not going to buy, and then maybe there won't be someone else that's going to purchase or come in and pay a higher number for the job? What do you think it is that causes that for people to underprice themselves?
Well, mine was overhead.
Okay.
I was in over my head with my overhead. So just, that's something you want to manage. If you're young, you want to get into it, pay attention to the books, keep very good records of what makes money, what doesn't. And, that's going to be determine whether you're successful or not, because it's easy to have a turning dollar. I got to the point where I was busy enough where I constantly had cash flow, but I actually was just turning a dollar. And then when something went wrong, things were starting to trend downhill. I had to kind of figure it out. But overhead is what did it to me. Like I said, I was in lot clearing and grading and things like that. And for example, give you a perfect example, I had at least a 50,000 pound traco. I don't know if anybody knows what tracos and things cost, but in the hundreds of thousands.
More than a few dollars.
Yeah, more than a few dollars. And payment on it was north of $5,000 a month. And then I went out, I was 25, turning 26. And for my birthday, I was busy. I wanted to buy a tractor trailer. And I bought a tractor trailer and a 39-foot end dump. And I was rocking and rolling. I thought, this is it. I've got everything I need. I'm going to take off from here. But the tractor trailer broke in the middle of a job, that I had priced here to do, and then when it broke, one, it was $15,000 to fix it. Two, I had to hire somebody to complete the job, to do the hauling on the job. So whenever that came, there was no profit left at the end. And then you got to think I got 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7 more jobs lined up behind that I had priced the same way, undervaluing, because I thought I could lower my price because now I have bought a tractor trailer versus charging the industry standard or what it was for me to make money and for my business to make money. And, separate yourself from the business. The business has to be profitable in order for you. And I don't want to make this a money thing, but the business definitely has to be profitable overall. I'm not saying every day. You ain't going to win every battle.
Yeah.
But the business has to be profitable.
And so, because we touched a little bit on the numbers, right?
Yeah.
I'm curious, first of all, how you were able to fight yourself out of that situation, right?
It was worse than that, but yeah.
I guess we can dig into that before we move on to anything else, if you're willing to. Like, how did you muster up that entrepreneurial, strength when your back's against the wall and figure out a way out of that situation?
I sat in the traco 6 days a week, 8 hours a day. I was the cut man. I ran the saw. I loaded the truck. Essentially, once again, like I said, people are willing to help. And I was in a position where I just went, to the guy who was doing the hauling. I found, somebody that was doing the hauling for me and said, hey, man, this is what happened. This is my deal. I communicated with him, say, hey, this is what I got going on. And then I bunched all of that stuff together. I said, this is how many jobs I got. I kind of need a price per job. I'll get you to haul all of this stuff, but I need a price per job. And he gave me a price per job that I was able to work with. I guess he saw a hustler and he was an older guy. He looked out for me. And that enabled me to, start trending out of the hole because I was able to make my payment and then, start coming out of the hole. And you just got to keep putting one foot in front of the other. So it wasn't like I didn't immediately look at it and, have some solution. You ask me and I'm trying to think of how I actually came out of the hole, and I really don't remember other than continuing to go to work. On days I didn't want to go to work.
Yeah.
Just get up and keep going.
Yeah.
And once I got out of the hole, that's when I realized you asked the question very early on about hiring people and how difficult it was and this and that. Once I got out of that hole, because nobody put me there but me, I realized that you got to have people in place. You're going to need people. You got to put some systems in. That's when I made the changes on the business side of it and started hiring people and started training people. So there was not so much strain on the entrepreneur.
Mm.
You want to get to the point where your business operates without you. In the beginning, it seems so far away, but that's what you want to strive for. That's the end goal.
Yeah, and I see the two common threads there being honesty, because you were able to communicate with people and tell them this is my situation. You weren't trying to pretend. And the second thing is humility. You raised your hand and said, I accept responsibility. I put myself in this position.
Oh, yeah.
And now I'm the person that's got to work myself out of it. And I think especially for younger people and in the social media age more than anything, those are two of the biggest things that they have to battle with is pride and dishonesty.
Yeah.
And, I'm hearing your story and hearing how, the fact that you were honest and the fact that you were humble is what helped you be able to push through that, being able to get back out there, like you said, do the work.
Yeah,
You were out there every day jumping back. You weren't like, oh, I'm the owner, I got to do this and I'm above this. You got that and you made it through it.
You'll struggle.
Yeah.
Kick back.
Yeah.
Don't kick back. You can never kick back. Don't let your guard down.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least I haven't been able to.
Mm.
I could reference people all day. I got a buddy that told me, probably right on the backside of that, I was joking. I said, man, everybody around me, they go to happy hour every day. They knock off, they go to happy hour. So I saw him about 6 months later. Man, I'm slow. He said, you've been at too many happy hours. You've been at, and that was just a reference, but, per se, it was the ownership. Like, I own this. I was doing well when I said that. It's like, man, it'd be nice to take off and go on the boat at 4 o'clock or go do this or go do that. And he's like, no, he's like, dude, you're still in the growing phase. You ain't there yet. Yeah. You need to stay, keep your nose to the grindstone and keep working.
Yeah. And so now you have that team though, right?
Yeah. We have
so
a few guys.
Two things always interest me about building a team. And the first one is hiring. I see how people hire, what they look for in people. And the second thing is once they have that team, how they lead those people. So we can start with hiring, of course. What were you looking for when you were hiring people? Because I've heard so many stories from all of my friends that still are in the trades. I have a friend that has an irrigation company here locally, good friend of mine. And he said he would hire people. They would show up for work one day, make it to lunchtime, leave for lunch, not show back up to a job.
Yeah.
Happened multiple times.
Yeah, that happens. That heat'll do it to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no real way to tell other than putting somebody in the job and kind of see how they act as they're going, because the mouth will say anything. I need a job or this or that, and everything seems great. And then you get an August day, where it's 100 degrees and you got a heat index of 110 and they're in a tree in sight, in a bottle of water. As soon as you put it in, it comes back out. You try to hire people that have the drive. So whenever I do hire somebody, I try to be fair, try to match, be competitively paid. And then, if I see him, down, I'll try to talk to him. Once again, like I said, we're all human, so I'll try to talk to him and things like that. But people still fall by the wayside. Not every hire is going to work. And if you understand that as a business owner, that there's going to be times where you have to actually you may have to fire somebody. Don't hang on. If they're not working, it's better just to go up to them and be honest and say, hey, this is not working. You're not fit, versus costing yourself money, because that's a position or something else that you might be able to fill with somebody else. And then managing people that's the name of the game. That is something that I've developed. I didn't know how to manage people. I thought I was Mr. Make It Happen. I would bring people along and they would be my helping hand versus actually doing the job. So I finally, like I said, I learned how to manage people. And once I learned how to manage people and put little things in play and give them an end goal that would actually, because I look at the job as a whole. So we walk in this room and I look at this whole room as a whole. You tell me, hey, you want to do this, 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 this. I understand it in depth, what it takes to get it to that point. The people you may be hiring may not understand that. So you try to do something where it can be repetitive if you're doing a service or something like that. Hey, this is what we're going to do to get you to this point. give them a point because one, everybody wants to achieve something, and achieving something gives you a good feeling, so, you give them a point, they get to that point, like, all right, cool, this is what we got done. So now this we're going to move forward. And it's the way you use your words. There's so much to it. Progress is key. If they feel like you're making progress in those 100-degree days,
Mm.
it keeps you going. Versus if I walk out there and say, "Oh man, we haven't done anything," heads hang and
Yeah.
whatever the case is. You got to find the positive in it, and you got to find a way to keep people motivated. Some people are motivated different ways. What motivates you may not motivate me, and so you just have to really take that into consideration when you're hiring people. Try to learn your people and try to learn what motivates them, and use that into your manager strategy.
Yeah. What motivates you?
Man, I don't know. It's not money, because if it was all about money, I would have quit.
And by the way, we have no problem with it.
No, it's
we have people come on the show and we're like, sometimes it is about money. You know what I mean? Because like you said, I think there's obviously things that are bigger than money, that are beyond the money.
Yeah.
That are more
Freedom.
fundamental. Yeah, absolutely.
Freedom, being able to, go out and do it. And I like the good feeling I like success. I like when you get something done, the feeling after you get it done.
Yeah.
And I got 4 guys, and, you provide. And I'm more of I love my guys, the guys that have been with me. I treat everybody like family until they give me a reason not to. And I credit that. I come from a mom with a big heart. So I like helping.
Yeah.
People have problems. That's something when you go into sales. I was told one time, if you go to a house or something and somebody needs something done, it's a problem.
Yep.
And you can fix the problem.
Absolutely. Yep. That problem and solution framing is so big.
Yeah.
So big. And it's like pain and medicine for the pain also. I love that. And I think, we were talking earlier about like coaches and mentors and things like that. I think for me personally, leadership is one of the areas in which I do think is very valuable to have some kind of coach or mentor. Like that's when I would lean into like reading a book or looking at content or something like that, is leading people, because there's so many soft skills that come along with that. It's not like, you do the job is done and that's it.
No.
People are complex, and we realize that about ourselves and other people, and you start to learn just as much about yourself as you do other people in leadership. And sometimes the things people do that annoy you and irritate you are just like a mirror reflection of yourself looking back at you.
Yeah.
And there's so many ways that you grow as a person when you're in a leadership role like that.
Yeah.
So I definitely, it's like we were talking about with social media. You focused on the hard work, and then when it comes time to polish everything, make it look good, put your brand out there, then it's time to lean into that. And I feel like with the coaching and the mentorship things, I feel like usually leadership is where I've found that for myself to be very impactful for me. But was there anything for you that helped teach you to be a better leader, or was it the same thing? It's just going through the experiences of having a team and just see what happens. Hiring, fire.
Not
Yeah.
firing. Hiring at the beginning, I didn't really fire. Hiring, and people just falling by the wayside, quitting. Tend to self-reflect and look at, what am I doing? How can I,
Yeah.
There's something wrong. It can't be that hard. There's people out here doing it every day. And I have tons and tons of people, not tons, but I have enough people around me that own businesses. All of my friends are probably older than me. George, I talk to him every day. Me and him are really good friends, are at the beach, and he's just a book of wisdom. He's 68 years old, I think, and he's just lived it, So whenever you get into that, I may be thinking this way, and I might pick up the phone in the middle of the day and say, man, frustrated. This is what I got going on. And he said, hey, I actually called him probably about a week ago. I said, hey, man, grading, trying to teach somebody how to grade. He says, you see it that way. Make it the way they can see it. Go out there, put a string up. If it's got to be a string from here to here, if that's the point and they need it and they need that reference point, go do it. You just, there's different ways, and you can call and you can lean into books and things like that. But my biggest thing is, the Davids, the Georges, the people that I call, that are in business, I guess they would be somewhat of mentors. I run stuff by them. Hey, man, this is what I got going on, or this is that, or things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's so valuable. If you could speak back to your younger self when you were getting started, what would you say to your younger self?
Take the risk. I jumped off the porch, but there was a period where I got scared, and I kind of stalled myself out. I got comfortable in what I was doing.
Mm.
There was a point where I could have taken some risks that probably would have paid off, and I'd probably be in a better position. But I don't live in regret,
Mm.
But if I had to go back and tell myself getting started, hey, go ahead, take the risk.
Man, I can relate to that a lot.
Yeah, just take the risk.
Yeah.
If you see it, there's a saying, I don't know if this is the exact thing to do, but to an extent it says entrepreneurs bite off more than they can chew and figure out how to chew it. It's been going around Facebook really recently, like a lot. I've seen it a lot, at least on mine. To an extent, that is true.
Yeah.
You have to, bite it off and figure out how to chew it.
Yeah. I like the quote that giving your best isn't always enough.
Yeah.
Sometimes what's required is more than your best.
Yeah.
And so you have to grow. You know what I mean? You're forced to grow. You're forced to make your best better than it is now.
Yeah.
And it just reminds me so much of the quote you just shared about biting off more than you can chew, because it does feel that way sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Feels like you're trying to swim through an ocean and you can't see the other side.
Yeah, you can't see the other side.
Yeah.
And I want to just say this. I'll just throw this in there and touch back on this. I say keep putting one foot in front of the other and all of these different things. And, when I started this whole thing, all I wanted was a diesel truck, piece of machinery, and a trailer, and to be able to go to work and have work, right? If you don't take the time to look back every once in a while and say, and reflect, you'll lose sight, because now I have those things and all those things, and I find myself just like trying to think about what's next, what's next, the drive. But every once in a while, you kind of got to look back, and it'll remind you what it took to achieve that, and then, you'll get some patience.
Yeah.
And be able to go ahead and put yourself together and make the next move.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you a man of faith?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. So I got to share this story then, because I carry this on my car keys. I hate spiders, right? I used to hate spiders. I have this little spider emblem on my car keys.
Gotcha.
Carry with me everywhere. I don't know if the camera
That thing
can
looks
see
too
it.
real.
Yeah.
And if you can't see it in the camera, that thing looks too real.
When I first put it on there, I was worried about that. I was like, oh, I'm going to pull my keys out. Forgot I put it on there. But so the reason I have that on there is because around the time that I was first getting started, I had a scenario in which I could have either taken a risk or not taken the risk. And I grew up in a very crazy home environment. I was in a small town between two cities, had a lot of different people moving in. So you had just rampant drug addiction, overdoses, gang activity moving into the area. It's just a crazy area to live up in. And I grew up in a home that was on one side very religious in public, and then behind closed doors there was that same addiction.
Gotcha.
And so I'd always grown up with faith, but I also grew up seeing, the dark side of how things can be. And so that situation ultimately turned into something where it became a very dangerous situation.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Guns pulled, house almost burning down, that kind of stuff.
I gotcha.
And so I was like, I got to get my mom out of here. And so I rushed her out of the house one day in the middle of a crazy situation. And we're just like on our own. This is before I really had anything solid for myself business-wise. And we ended up living with these other people, homeless for like 4 months, but not homeless.
Yeah, exactly.
You have provision, and we were living with these other people for like 4 months, and I was still working through that time. And things were starting to work. Things were starting to work.
Yeah.
Things were starting to pick up, or so I thought. And then I had a prayer one night. I had this prayer because I really needed a financial miracle in that time. And I fell asleep that night and I had this dream that my mother and I were moving into this new apartment. And there were these spider webs all over the place with these big spiders. And I'd walk into the room, and whenever I was about to bump into a spider, I was like, oh, I'm going to hit it. And I would look at it, it would just turn into a piece of cardboard and fall on the floor.
Yeah.
Right? And so I woke up and I was like, that had to mean something. I don't know exactly what it meant, but that had to mean something. And I checked my phone, and I was in the military for like 6 years in the Guard.
Thank you for your service.
I appreciate it. Thank you for your support. And so I look at my phone. I had a random check come in from the military. Was not expecting it. No idea where it came from to this day. No clue. And it completely and immediately answered that prayer that I had the night before.
Yeah.
And so later that day, I'm like, man, I just need to take some time to go and just be thankful, right? And the only place I had privacy in the home we were living in was in the bathroom. So I just went in the bathroom. I laid on the floor and I'm just like praying on the floor, right? And I go to get up off the floor and I feel this tickle in my arm. And I like pushed myself off the floor and a spider fell out of my arm onto the floor.
Oh,
I
man.
still killed it. I still killed
Yeah,
it.
he got to die.
Yeah. But I'm like, man, that's the second time I've seen a spider. Every night I would sit out on these people's porch and I would look up and there was a golden orb weaver spider, same spider every night. So I'm just seeing spiders all over the place and I hate
Yeah.
spiders, right? And I'm trying to make sense of this. And ultimately, it seemed like what the dream was telling me and what God was trying to tell me is the things you're afraid of aren't going to hurt you the way that you think they are. And so a few days later, everything I thought I was building in the business just completely tanked. I had a very bad deal that went wrong, and I basically lost all of my income in one deal, sitting in a Walmart parking lot looking at my email. Just one email changed my whole life.
Yep.
In the middle of this whole situation, I'm trying to take care of my mom. And we had gotten approved for an apartment down here because I'm from Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And so I was like, do I sign these papers and move my mom down here and try to make something happen? Or do I stay in this position? And I signed the papers because I felt like that's what I was supposed to do. I had no idea how I was going to take care of it.
Yeah, no, that's it.
And so I came down here. I had some business partners in the area, and we made things work. But that first night after we moved our things in, took her out to dinner, and we came back, and it was dark by this time. And I go to put my key in the door to this new apartment. And I grew up in trailers. So this apartment was like, it's an apartment, but for me, I'm like, I'm living large by the beach.
Yeah, exactly. It's creme de la creme. This is it.
And so I put my key in, and I look up, and that same golden orb weaver spider is hanging outside the door to the apartment. And I was like, okay, I get it. I get it now. That was God telling me, like, I'm here with you through that journey. And when I look at scripture, you see the way God brought the Israelites out of Egypt. And it was just through miracles, miracle after miracle. Just he did it for them, right? But the second time that they had to cross the river when they went into the promised land, they had to walk into the water first. And so I think for all of us, there's those times where people like Mr. Coffee will come out and, we have those opportunities, those miraculous provisions that are given to us. And then there are other times where it's like God looks at us and says, I've shown you what I can do. Now I want you to respond with faith through action. I want you to take action. I'm not going to split the waters first this time. I want you to walk into the water. And even when it gets up here, keep going. And once it gets up there, I'm going to part the water for you. I just need to see that you still trust me no matter what. Like when they were to get thrown in the furnace, they said, God will save us from the fire, but even if he doesn't, he's still glorified. Doesn't matter if we burn, doesn't matter if we don't. If we go in the furnace, he's glorified. The only way he wouldn't be is if they bowed, if they bent, if they didn't go into the fire. And for all of us, I think it's the same thing. We only miss out on the miraculous that can happen in our lives when we don't take action, when we don't step out in faith, when we don't walk into the water. And I appreciate people like you that are willing to come on to the show and share the ways that you've done that in your own life through your business. And so, I just shared that whole story for the audience and with you, but is there anything that you really want to share with the audience that we haven't talked about that you think would be meaningful for them to hear?
There's nothing else. I think you previewed the questions.
Okay.
There was one question on there.
Yeah.
One about a tool, your favorite tool.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And
We're to speed run those.
Okay. Oh,
so
yeah,
you ready for the speed round? Okay.
Yeah.
So speed round. First question is, are you a morning person or a night owl?
Morning person.
Morning person. Okay. How early are you a morning person?
Early.
Early?
Yeah, early.
Like 4 or 5 early?
Yeah. I'm at the gym.
Okay.
Usually 5:50 in the morning.
Okay. Okay. All right. Favorite tool or equipment?
Excavator.
Excavator.
Yeah,
okay.
an excavator.
Why?
That's almost like my spider.
That's like your spider?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It just always, I've done things with it you shouldn't have. I've graded lots with it in the beginning where it was you needed bulldozers or spread dirt or that was my tool of choice because I was able to make things happen with it. I could take a job on an excavator and that was it.
So next time I see you, if I find a little excavator,
I need to
put on your keys or on your
That's
mirror.
right. I need an excavator hanging somewhere.
Okay. All right. What's your go-to pump-up song?
Oh man. Well, right now I'm gonna say buy dirt.
Buy dirt?
Buy
Okay.
dirt. That's the mode I'm in right now. Buy dirt.
Who's that by?
Oh man. Now you're with me. You're with me. I don't know who it's by, but buy dirt.
Is it, what genre is it?
It's country.
It's country? See, I'm more of a, because of where I grew up, I'm a Kevin Gates guy.
Oh,
love
I
his,
like Kevin Gates. I didn't want to go there, but no, I like
No,
Kevin Gates.
yeah.
If I'm lying, I'm flying by Kodak Black.
Okay,
You can
okay.
cut that one in there.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
So those are your go-to pump up songs. All right, and what's one thing that you do every day to stay on top of your game? A consistent habit that you have, if anything.
I don't think I have a consistent habit.
Okay.
Social media has led me. I want to develop some of those things where it's like, I got this thing I do every single day.
Just waking up and being awesome.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah, that's right.
Taking action every day.
That's it. You got to take action
Yeah.
every day. You got to get up and put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
On the days you don't want to go, this
Yeah.
and that. You asked me something earlier. I'm going to say this. What motivated? Didn't you ask me what
Yeah, what
motivated?
motivates you? Yeah.
I'd be remiss if I got on here I didn't say something about my mother.
Mm.
Because that is the absolute, you just talked about your mother.
Yeah.
I grew up single mother, and at times I call her, I gave her a nickname Big Jones, like keeping up with the Jones, because she, no matter what, she made it happen. 3 jobs. If you know her, if you know anybody that knows her, every time I've met somebody that knows my mother, like, oh, you're Teresa's son or you're Laverne's son? Oh, that's a hardworking lady. That's all I've ever heard all my life. She is, if I don't want to go to work, I would think sometimes she pops in my head and it's like, no way. You got to go.
So shout out to Jay's mom. This episode is dedicated.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's all for her.
Amazing.
I don't have any kids. That's her.
Amazing. Any final message for the audience, the rest of the world?
Jump off the porch.
Jump off the porch. Love it. Jay, thank you so much for coming on the show. We'll see you again, and I'll have an excavator for you.
There you go.
All right. Sounds good.